gentlemen, and welcome to Nihilist Wrestling 4. Whether you're 4 horsemen or like me, you're NW4 life. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for pressing play. I just want you to know that I know I'm not a huge YouTuber. I don't get a ton of views or anything like that, but I legitimately view it as a privilege, whatever my reach is, to get on here and talk about wrestling with you all. So again, thank you very much for being here. We got some things we're going to be talking about today. First and foremost, WWE keeps running these ads for a documentary they made called Becoming Immortal, a story about Bray Wyatt. And you know, it hasn't come out yet, but I'm already like really emotional thinking about it, and we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into the legacy of Bray Wyatt and my personal connection to him and all that. We're gonna talk about Adam Copeland and Christian Cage in AEW. I think they're absolutely killing it. And of course, we're gonna talk about SmackDown. I just got done watching SmackDown. We're gonna talk about Cody and Roman and where things are going. A potential rematch between Rey and Dominik Mysterio, something they kind of foreshadowed on SmackDown. So we're gonna get into all of that. So, with no further ado, here we go. Becoming Immortal. The Bray Wyatt story. Like, I really like that name, I really do, because there's just something about Bray Wyatt, like something about his presentation that always made me feel seen. And in my last video, I talked about how the Judgment Day and the House of Black they're some of like the only real representation that heavy metal people have on mainstream television, or any mainstream outlet, really. Bray Wyatt he wasn't an explicitly heavy metal guy, but he had the aesthetics, and he just talked in a way, he had the aesthetic that, like, I don't know, just really kind of seemed like a testament to our culture. But the way that he delivered his promos and told his stories, it just penetrated us in a way that few have done, especially in this era of wrestling. This t-shirt that I'm wearing right here, it has this phrase, revel in what you are. I bought this t-shirt about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, in Los Angeles at the WWE Superstore. At the time, Bray was not advertised for WrestleMania. They teased a program with Bobby Lashley, and then they kept Bray off the show. I kept reading reports that there was some sort of health concern. Apparently it was a pretty serious health concern, as Bray Wyatt is no longer with us. And you know, I had to get this shirt, though. I was really hoping that Bray would be at WrestleMania, but I definitely had to get this shirt because this phrase, revel in what you are, I think about a SmackDown event that I attended in Tampa. You know, I don't know exactly what year it is. I mean, the past, like, 2019 to 2024 was just like a total blur, as it was for a lot of us in the pandemic. So whatever year it was that Bray came back recently, it was 2022 or 3, one of those. Sorry, I'm bad with time. And I was wearing the original Wyatt family Find Me shirt, and I'm like, you know, I'm in the bathroom, like at the sink area, and some guy just like taps me on the back and says, "Revel in what you are, brother." And I didn't even remember what I wore at the time, and it took me a little bit to connect the dots. Well, it should have been obvious, but it took me a bit. And I'm just like, I just turned to him. I'm like, "Hell yeah, you too, man." I didn't even realize he was talking about Bray Wyatt until when he was walking away. I saw he had an Uncle Howdy mask like attached to the back of his head. And then I realized, I looked down and I saw I was wearing a Wyatt family shirt, so that's what he meant. You know, stupid of me to not pick up on that. Really stupid. But I thought in that moment, I'm like, I just wish that was something that people said to each other in day-to-day life. Like, revel in what you are. Don't so neatly conform to society's conventions. Like, be unapologetically you. Fuck what they think. And that's just kind of a testament to what I was talking about earlier. Like, Bray Wyatt just had a way of speaking to me and to so many others in a way that just... You just don't see that. You don't hear that. You don't see people that look like Bray Wyatt or that look like me on mainstream entertainment. You don't. And he was just such a perfect ambassador for our culture on WWE television. I think about his return at Extreme Rules, and I know that they had foreshadowed his return for weeks. They're doing that White Rabbit promo video series, and by then, I mean, we have the internet and all that, and a QR code would pop up, and there would be references to old Wyatt family promo videos. So we knew Bray Wyatt was coming, right? But they had Extreme Rules, and the title screen showed, and it was like the show was done, but they faked us out, and then the lights went black, and you saw all those figures from Bray Wyatt's past from the Firefly Funhouse, and then you see the Fiend, and then all of a sudden the new music hits. And you see Bray again, and he got a kind of pop that I don't feel like people from this era got anymore. Like, Bray just felt like such a massive star in that time. And until recently, I haven't felt like modern WWE stars were that big. That big of superstars. Like, people universally knew Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair and Sting and stuff like that. And then you get a little bit more contemporary, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and even John Cena. But since then, and Cena's heyday was quite a while ago. So even he, though he's, in the scope of my fandom a little bit more contemporary, his prime was still quite a bit ago. I don't think that wrestlers in the past 15 plus years have been that level of star. But when Bray Wyatt came back at Extreme Rules, there was no denying that he was a massive star, and we were just so ready to, have his second run. And he would come out and cut passionate promos every week for a while, and it felt more like it was Wyndham Rotunda speaking rather than Bray Wyatt, just talking about how the fans were there for him when he didn't even believe in himself. When in reality, I feel like Bray Wyatt has been there for us, the fans, in so many ways. Maybe in times when we didn't believe in ourselves. He was a demonstration that you can make it, doing things your way in such a unique way. And I admire the hell out of the man, Wyndham Rotunda. One time, I was on a flight with him one time. Actually, I was in Los Angeles for work, and I was flying back to Tampa. And I saw Bray Wyatt, in line for my flight, and nobody was bothering him. It was in between his time after he got released from WWE. And at the time, there was actually strong speculation that he was going to end up in AEW, but it was before he came back. And I didn't approach him. I was too scared. But it was undeniably him. Hearing all the stories that people have said about the man that Wyndham Rotunda was since then, I really wish that I would have. He actually sat in the very front of the plane, in the the first class area. So I, of course, passed him when I was finding my seat, and I'm just whoa, that's one of my wrestling heroes. But I know that there's so much that goes into being famous, and there's so much tedium involved with being recognized constantly in public. So like I try like not to be a part of the problem. So that's kind of my philosophy, and how like I have see famous people all the time, and even like famous people I respect on a semi-regular basis. I didn't want to approach him, because of that philosophy I have, and now just like hearing the stories about the man that he was, I wish I could have at least shook his hand and just tell him like what I'm telling you now, like how much he meant to me, how much he meant to us, how in a lot of ways it's more than just pro wrestling. And pro wrestling means a hell of a lot, and I appreciate everything that he did in between those ropes, like stretching the boundaries of what pro wrestling was, adding that kind of a sci-fi element, but also a cinematic element, and just, fully immersing himself in that character. Just he was. I almost wanted to say he was ahead of his time, but in like really he's in a league of his own. There's no time period, past, future, present, etc., that that those kind of characters exist, at least on a level that Bray Wyatt was doing it. Like, even like Bray Wyatt kind of lightly insinuated that maybe broken Matt Hardy wouldn't have existed if it wasn't for Bray Wyatt in the Wyatt family, and Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy went on to have a tag team title run, which was excellent and all that. But more of Lon, yes, I loved that run. But Bray Wyatt is just like, to me, he is iconic. Like, he was in WWE for like a relatively short period of time. I know for all the time from NXT up until his passing and all that, it had to have been over the course of over 10 years. But it really felt like such a short period of time. We really got to enjoy like the performer, the man, the mind, the brilliant mind of Wyndham Rotunda. But like, although like I thought for sure that he was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and instead they're doing his dad and his uncle, and they might not want like Bray to overshadow that. There's still time if they wanted to induct him, they probably could still. But I mean, Bray would he would have to headline the Hall of Fame ceremony, and it already kind of makes sense that Bo Dallas induct his dad and his uncle. So it might make more sense to spread that out. I would have personally done Bray this year, but it doesn't matter. His dad and his uncle IRS and Barry Windham definitely deserve it. So yeah, I hope Bo Dallas comes back. He doesn't. I don't even think he needs to do anything related to Uncle Howdy or Bray Wyatt or anything. I just would like to see him back, because I think Bo Dallas is also an incredible performer. He was one of the highlights of my early days watching NXT. So I hope he gets another run, and I'm hoping that the documentary can serve as like a launching pad for his return. If they do end up doing a tribute to him, like if maybe Bo and Alexa, and they could hire Eric Redbeard and have Braun Strowman be involved, like I actually trust this this iteration of WWE to do like a tribute to him tastefully, but they don't have to. Like, Bray Wyatt's legacy speaks for himself. I can't say enough good things about him. I can't properly articulate how much his body of work meant to me. Like, I get emotional literally every time I see like a picture of him. I know I didn't know him personally, but when he died, it really felt like I was personally losing someone. That's just how hard it cut. And I could go on about it forever, so I better shut up now. But I have some other things I want to get to. So yeah, rest in power, Wyndham Rotunda. I just can't say enough good things about the legend, the absolute icon that Bray Wyatt was. So, speaking of absolute icons, Adam Edge, Copeland, and Jay, Christian, Riso. Like, I like what can I say that hasn't been said already? Like, both of them, like Edge, absolute icon, Hall of Famer, Christian, maybe one of, like, he has been several, like, very respected wrestlers answer for most underappreciated wrestler of all time in terms of his body of work and his mind for the business. And, like, Christian has been absolutely killing it here this past, like, year plus in AEW. Like, his commitment to being a heel, he plays the heel in a way that's just like, when I hear his music hit, I'm just like, oh shit, shit is about to go down when I hear Christian Cage's music hit. But like, the first time I thought that maybe Edge and Christian in AEW was possible was when I was listening to Dax Harwood's old podcast, which I miss so much. Big shout out to Dax Harwood and Matt Kuhn. They had an excellent podcast there for a while. I actually attended their live podcast in Los Angeles when I was there last year for WrestleMania. It was phenomenal. They had Wardlow there, Sean Spears, and Will Hobbs, and like the, you know, the old guys from the Pinnacle minus MJF, and of course Cash Wheeler was there as well. Yeah, but anyway, like, Dax would always say that a dream match of his was FTR versus Edge and Christian, and then he would always follow that with, and it's not as unrealistic as you guys might think. And I know that, like, Dax and Cash are actually personal friends of, you know, Edge and Christian. They you know, FTR and Edge, they all live in North Carolina, and they actually live close to where Adam and Beth do. So I was like, when Dax said that, I knew he wasn't, like, you know, coming from, you know, he wasn't just talking out of his ass. Like, he knows the man. So when he says it's not as unrealistic as one might think, and Edge was still actively performing in WWE at the time. Like, I saw him beat Finn Balor at WrestleMania, like, shortly after. I was getting my hopes up, and then, you know, Christian just went on a tear after that, so much to the point where, like, he didn't need Edge to come in AEW to, like, be relevant or be incredibly important to the show. And it almost seemed like if he was, well, it absolutely felt like if he was to just drop what he was doing and then reunite with Edge to reform their tag team as, like, Edge requested when he came to AEW, like, that would have been a hindrance, because, like I said, Christian was absolutely on a roll. So the way that they're doing it now, like, they're not just giving us, like, the iconic reunion right off the bat. They're doing this epic program between, you know, Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. And of the three matches that they had, I think they have all been incredible. The first one, well, technically, isn't it four matches technically? Because they had the first one, and now there was some screwy finish. I forgot exactly what happened, but it left it feeling very unresolved. And then they had the second match where Adam actually beat Christian for the TNT Championship, but then, like, Luchasaurus or Killswitch had actually won a TNT Championship shot earlier in the day, and then he actually gave it to Christian. It was like Christian whispered something into Killswitch's ear, which made him totally drop his tough demeanor and just kind of, like, you know, almost like surrender and hand over the title to Christian, and then he, like, kind of got the cheap win over an injured Adam to win the TNT Championship. So technically, this match on Dynamite was their fourth match, but, you know, technicalities and all that. Adam Copeland, Christian Cage 3 was my favorite. It was in Toronto, and Adam said in the past that it's not so much about, like, you know, doing doing these matches on pay-per-views or the timing and all that. He thinks the location of it has been the most important aspect to him, and like being in Toronto, their hometown and all that, it just, put some extra shine on it. Like, whenever I see Adam Copeland posting about AEW on, like, Twitter or Instagram, and I know you shouldn't read people's comments on the internet because people are stupid and all that, but the overwhelming sentiment I see is like, boo, go back to WWE, Edge is nothing without WWE, AEW is nothing, and I can't stress enough like how much I absolutely hate that mentality. Like, and I am a WWE fan, right? There's nothing wrong with liking WWE, but to just shit on AEW, it's one thing not to like it, but to just shit on it and to like hope it's going to fail the way that a lot of E-drones do. It's basically like rooting for the dealer in blackjack. Like, WWE is this big global empire that destroyed all the territories when Vince McMahon Jr. took power, and you're like, yeah, go back to WWE, fuck that up and coming promotion. That's just such a shit attitude to have. Like, AEW doesn't have to be for you, but at least appreciate the fact that this late in his career, like, Adam Copeland is doing what he wants to do, and that's like having the creative freedom and like being able to create with his best friend, with his brother, like, his kayfabe brother early on in their career, but really like his brother, Christian Cage. And I think it's just been like, I see every moment that we see them on television, I think is just it's a bonus. We thought that both of their careers were over. Christian's kind of ended a lot more unceremoniously than Edge's did. Edge at least got that retirement speech as out of nowhere as it was. They just phased off of using Christian as an active competitor in WWE. It had something to do with injuries that he had sustained. I think it was concussions. I don't remember 100%. But like, Christian went out like with a whimper until he came back at the 2020 Royal Rumble, and like it was like, oh my god. And then like Edge came out later, and like, you say, for those of you that don't think anything good happened in 2020, like, watch Edge and Christian's reunion at the Royal Rumble, or just Edge coming out and returning like from injury in a way that nobody saw coming unless they were reading the dirt sheets and all that. Like, it was magical. But then right after that, Christian didn't come and work for WWE. He signed with AEW. Apparently it was Jon Moxley that told Christian that he would be doing himself a disservice if he didn't at least talk with Tony Khan. And then they had that one of their infamous big announcements where they had signed Christian Cage. And I think Christian has had such a good run in AEW. Again, he did not need Edge/Adam to come there at all for like me to think that Christian is just having a fucking great run in AEW. But now, man, like, I don't want to see this feud end between Edge and Christian. But I know when it does, and when we finally get that tag team back, and I'm almost positive that's what's going to happen, when we get, I don't know how they're going to stylize it. Cope and Cage, Adam and Christian, Adam Copeland, Christian Cage. However they're going to say it, like, they're going to have matches with FTR. If AEW can hold on to the Hardy Boys, which I hope they do, I think going back to WWE might be a misstep for the Hardy Boys. I understand their frustration with how they're being utilized now, but I think they're probably even more likely to get that treatment in WWE. That's a tangent. Maybe we'll talk about that later. But man, like, it is an absolute privilege to be able to see those two gentlemen on television still. And I remember, like, I can't remember if it was on Edge or Christian's Instagram account. One of them posted a picture of them together. I want to say it was on Edge's Instagram account, and and they were together at they were in Tampa. Like I live in Greater Tampa Bay myself, and they're watching the Maple Leafs, their hockey team, play the Tampa Bay Lightning at Amalie Arena in Tampa, and they just took a picture together, and I wrote in their comments section. Just imagine the difference that the two of you could make in AEW. Go back and look at it on Instagram. It was a very popular comment. A lot of people were in there telling me it was never going to happen. Well, Dax had already foreshadowed it at this point, and I trust Dax. So, yeah, I'm so happy it happened. Like, the most wonderful thing about it is, like, even though we had, Cope Cage 3 and Adam finally is going to get his run as a TNT champion, like, it's only the beginning. I think Adam has alluded to having maybe a couple year window to, like, do this in AEW. And it's like, they only have television twice a week, 3 when there's pay-per-views and all that. So it's a relatively light schedule, so he can keep doing into his 50s. Like, I hope we have a solid couple year run of seeing those icons in the ring. I just want to provide some positivity to offset the stupid negativity on the internet, because what those two are creating in AEW right now is simply magical. Alright, so now just a couple thoughts on SmackDown, but, more significantly, they foreshadowed potentially, and I'm hoping for a WrestleMania rematch between Dominik and Rey Mysterio. We're gonna get to that after I just kind of generally touch on the show. Like, it was a pretty good show. It wasn't amazing, wasn't terrible. They had the showdown between Cody and Roman. It was kind of whatever, just kind of trading generic barbs. It's hard to keep a program so red hot for so long, and I'm sure there's going to be other twists and turns on our way to WrestleMania. I do like, that, like, Roman did the whole thing where, the whole deal with that was they're both going to come alone, except for Paul Heyman, because he's no physical threat. But, of course, Roman the heel was lying, and he snapped his fingers, and then Solo and Jimmy came out of the crowd. And that's normally the point where the honorable babyface would be overwhelmed, except for Cody Rhodes, not so honorable, because it turns out that Seth Rollins and Jey Uso were in the crowd. I thought that was pretty well played, at least, kind of showing that Cody Rhodes isn't above getting his hands dirty despite being such a white bread babyface. I thought Cody's promo from Raw was pretty good, but, like, I don't know, man. Like, some of this, the tiny dick energy, and you're just an asshole, Dwayne, and all that, and it's just it almost seems like Cody Rhodes, like, I can appreciate the fact that he's getting a little bit grittier and all that, but, like, The Rock hit him pretty hard, and it just kind of seemed like Cody came back with, like, a more tame version of the same style of promo. And I don't think it was bad. It was a good promo, but I have to say that, like, I think The Rock won that round. But, we still have some time before WrestleMania, so we're going to see how all that develops. Like, I think the WrestleMania main event was not their first plan, obviously. It was going to be, it seemed like it was going to be Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. That would be incredible. And then Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. Oh no, LOL, The Rock is going to come back. I guess it's going to be The Rock and Roman. Oh wait, the fans don't like that. LOL, JK, it's going to be Cody and Roman again. Don't get me wrong, like, I think it's been a very interesting program so far. It's just, you can't always knock it out of the park. Neither Raw nor SmackDown I thought were great in terms of the build, but I do like The Rock last week on SmackDown. That did a lot more to get me interested in the program and all that. I'm a big fan of Santos Escobar. I think it's really compelling that he was so invested in the LWO that he got an LWO tattoo, only to feel betrayed by Rey Mysterio when he favored Carlito when there was a little bit of a tiff between Santos and Carlito. And then, Santos wanted the original Legado del Fantasma members, it's Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro, to split off from the LWO and reform, Legado. But they didn't want to. They couldn't betray Rey. So then Santos enlisted, Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. I guess it's just Berto now, and Angel and Berto just keep on shortening their people's names like they did back in the Vince era. Whatever, I'm not going to nitpick about all that. I think Angel Garza's shoot name is actually Humberto too. I think it's like Humberto Angel Garza. That's just an interesting fact and all that. But anyway, I'm big on that feud. I find that really interesting. I think Santos Escobar is an incredible heel. But we'll talk about this match a little bit between Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar. Rey looked a little rough. It looked like his knee was bothering him and all that, and they did a pretty good job covering for him on commentary and all that. But the really intriguing thing was that Dominik Mysterio came out, and I already I talked in, I don't remember, it was the last video, about how I think WWE fucked up and they should have had Dominik versus Gunther at WrestleMania, and Dominik should have gone over. He obviously should have cheated and just gotten the nuclear heat from ending the longest intercontinental title reign of all time. But I like the fact that Dominik interfered in Rey's match, because it was getting to the point where Dominik was just straight up minding his business. I know Dominik isn't likable in the eyes of the WWE universe. He's one of my favorites, probably my second favorite active performer in WWE, behind only CM Punk, who's my second favorite wrestler of all time. So I liked it because previously, Rey would just randomly show up in Dominik's business. They did it more than once, but the most recent example was Dominik was feuding with Dragon Lee. I thought it was so funny when Dominik was in NXT, and he was talking to, I can't remember the order, but he was talking to Axiom, and then Dragon Lee, and is you again? He can't tell the luchadors apart while claiming to be the greatest luchador of all time. Dominik is just fucking incredible. Absolutely the future of the business. So I like that Dominik got involved in this match for a couple of reasons. One, because like I said, it just looked like Rey was picking on Dominik. Rey was almost being the bad guy, validating Dominik's deadbeat dad, narrative, just by constantly being in his business unprovoked. The feud had totally cooled off, and then Rey just shows back up to fuck over his son. That was come on, Rey, you gotta do your boy like that? Come on. But yeah, reason number two is that I think they got the finish to last year's WrestleMania wrong, unless this was always the plan, but during the Vince McMahon era, I don't think that they had this kind of foresight. I don't think Rey should have went over Dominik. If they have a rematch this year, I think they have the opportunity to right that wrong, because, let's face it, Rey Mysterio, maybe he is the second greatest luchador of all time, behind only his son, of course. But he ain't gonna be here 5 years from now. Well, he'll be on this planet, but he's probably not going to be actively wrestling. His son is the future. He needs to give his son his moment. I don't care if there's some fuckery, if there's some Judgment Day interference and all that. I wouldn't mind if Dominik went over Rey clean, but I know that's just kind of counter to the way that they've presented Dominik. But they need to give the kid his shine, because he's going to be in this company 10, 15 years from now, hopefully. Latino heat is burning bright again with Dominik Mysterio. And just think of I think he needs to have his heel run has been great so far, but what they really need to establish him more as like somebody who can actually win a fucking match. Like, it seems like Dominik and JD McDonough are trotted out there to take the falls in matches. Like, they're out there to like build up whoever Finn Balor and Damian Priest's opponents are. And I don't like that because Dominik and JD are like they're much younger, they're the future, they're incredibly talented in their own right. Like, you need to get Dominik some wins, like establish him as a credible threat. I thought they did great having him hang in there with Gunther, but just I want him to beat his dad, and I want him to go on a tear for a while, because the way this has to end up, well, not it doesn't have to, but the way I think that it should, even though I would almost just rather Dominik be a heel, but eventually Rey is going to retire, and it's going to be on Dominik to carry on the Mysterio legacy. And I know like in so many times in history, like massive heels have gotten over just being so good at being heels. Like, John Cena is a great example, The Miz is a great example, The Rock's a great example, Stone Cold's a great example. They're so good at being heels, at being disliked, that eventually it's just out of respect, the crowd starts cheering for them. I think that happened recently to Baron Corbin over in NXT. I think that's going to happen for Dominik, because initially, the crowd didn't like him. He's just that smiling baby face that nobody likes. Apparently that was a note that one of the producers gave him. Hey, kids, smile more. And it's annoying. Nobody wants to see that shit. Nobody likes the smiling baby face unless it's Cody Rhodes. Like, you need to establish Dominik as not only like one of the biggest heels in the company, but he needs to be a credible in-ring threat, because when he finally reconciles with his dad, you think of all the equity that Dominik has built up being this massive heel. Like, he could be one of the biggest baby faces in this company if they do this right. Like I said, they just needs to win some matches. He needs to have that win over his dad. He needs to have that Intercontinental title run. You need to give this kid some accolades and have him do it in the most shitty way possible, but present him as a credible competitor. And he is going to be, like I keep saying, Dominik Mysterio, future of this company. Quote me, Ash Manson, 2024. Dominik Mysterio is the future of WWE. That's about all I got for you guys this week. Of course, I have other thoughts, but again, I like to keep these videos relatively short. If you got this far, I'd appreciate you dropping me a like, a subscribe, a comment, all that good stuff. And stick around for next week for more Nihilist Wrestling. Take care, y'all.